Listen up, y'all. It's the queen of automation, Megan Donnelly, here to give you inspiration. Founders and business owners gather round. I'ma show you how to build systems that'll astound. Streamline your processes, no need for...
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Queen of Automation podcast. I'm your host, Megan Donnelly, and we are here to talk about all things technology and why technology is only good when it works, how I help you make it work. Possibly, apparently not today, because look at me, I'm recording from my phone again. My computer decided it wasn't going to play nice. So thank God for Riverside app on the phone. And coming on online with me today is Sean Nihill. I had to ask him, so I didn't butcher his name. He is out of Milwaukee. The company, I don't remember again, you said the company is based out of...
We're remote, but our home base is in South Carolina.
South Carolina, so Resourceive. And he is near and dear to my heart because I have a love for all things IT and technology, as you know, as the Queen of Automation. And he helps companies much larger than me resource IT services, so networking and infrastructure and stuff like that. So you can't run my technology without him. So that's kind of where this synergies happen. But I'm gonna let him jump in and tell everybody, tell everybody about who you are, tell everybody about Resourceive and what you guys are working on, and yeah, let's get started.
Yeah, and by the way, I would be remiss if I didn't note that we are both from the great state of Wisconsin right now. And it is, saying earlier, it's a beautiful Friday morning right now. So excited to be here. So thanks for having me, Megan. Yeah, I think you kind of hit it spot on. We help our clients evaluate and find the right technology for their business, and what that means for us is being a strategic advisor, right? It's not a one size fits all when it comes to technology, and so having our clients allow us to look at what they're doing and talk about where their business wants to go, where they are now, and how we sort of bridge that gap to get from point A to point B, and sprinkling some technology where it makes sense, right? And I think, I'd love to get your thoughts again on in my perception, the AI conversations are all that we're talking about now. But from my viewpoint, AI is sort of that special ingredient you sprinkle across the top of the other ingredients, and it helps bolster the flavor of it, right? And so that's we come in and kind of make sure that our clients' goals are aligned with the right technology to help them get there. And usually that comes with some cost savings and some efficiencies in that space. So that's sort of where we sit in the game. But yeah, it's everything from, hey, we need some connectivity at this building and this site, to, hey, we want to move everything from the on-prem to the cloud, to, hey, what does our cybersecurity posture look like, and what risks are we taking right now in our current posture? So we sort of help clients navigate that scene.
Cybersecurity is huge right now too, as well, because of everything that's happening in the world and everybody's data is being sold to everybody else. I mean, it's just all over the place. So it is a huge need. And I feel like there are a lot of companies out there, big or small. You should have a cybersecurity policy in place. Like I have one, and I mean, it's definitely not as detailed as the $50 million, but I have a small cybersecurity policy so that, a data policy so people know, and terms and conditions on your website. Every single business that has a website, you need to have a data policy on your website, terms and conditions. You need to give people the ability to opt out. Just do this. Even if you have a landing page, I tell this to people all the time. People don't want to, when you use a landing page that only has, like the header and the footer, but there's no links, right? There's no navigation. People don't want to add links to the bottom for their cybersecurity or for data policies or terms and conditions or anything like that, because it gives this person the opportunity to link off their page, right? Like one call to action, one frame of mind. And I'm like, no. I'm like, yes, you should do that, but put it really small in the bottom. I don't care. Cover your ass, because you get audited, and I mean, data is a big deal. Selling people's information is a big deal. You get one audit is all it will take for a small company to tank them.
Yeah, I mean, we've been hearing this for years, but prior to where I am now is at a data analytics company, and we've been hearing this for years, that data is the new oil, right? Like it's everything. It's what big companies are buying and selling these days, and so they're procuring it, right? So for us, it's a matter of good, better, best, right? There's you got to do something. You got to sort of check certain boxes, but then how do you go up that scale based on what your environment looks like? And for us, it's, we acquired a cyber practice a couple of years ago, and it used to be sort of a standalone. We do this, and this, and cybersecurity. And now it's very much woven through every conversation we have, because it has to be. It's the common thread throughout the organization, because there are, remote workforces. You need to be clear on where every endpoint is and where the vulnerabilities are to get into your system. Because the reality is everything and everybody is online these days, and those are all potential areas that you can be infiltrated and breached. And so being very aware of what your current environment looks like, and not just checking the boxes, but mitigating any future risk. Like you just don't want to take the risk of a breach. You don't want to take the risk of an event, because that could shut your company down for hours, days, weeks, right? And that's money lost to most folks. So it is super important, to your point.
Well, it's for sure. I mean, it's also one of those things too. I always tell people, like, if you're online and your information's online, it's already hackable is not the right word, but if somebody really, really wants it that badly, they're going to get it, right? Like, but there are organizations like yourself that are putting these technologies in place that make it harder, right? I'm sorry, that's just the age that we live in. Like, if somebody really wants you that bad, like if you're that important, they could figure out how to get it. But you can make it really, really hard and difficult for them, and you should. And like things like everybody always complains about two-factor authentication and how annoying it is. And I was like, bring it on. Like, especially when it's like something like Stripe. I have to authenticate Stripe like all the time, right? Good. That's where your money is. Why wouldn't you want them to ask you 1,200 times in an hour? Yes, that's what you want. It's funny to me that I have customers in my world, and this is a good transition into some of the stuff we were talking about before we hit record. I have people in my world that are like, can you just turn off two-factor authentication? Sure. If you really want me to turn it off, I'll turn it off. Right? But then you have to go, and then you have to get on your soapbox and like go through the reasons why don't turn this off. Like, that's a really stupid idea. Well, I don't want to verify my email every time I have to log in. Is it really that hard? Like, use a magic link, use your phone, get an SMS message, and like hit the button. Like, is it like the extra 2 minutes out of your day going to affect when like somebody logs in and steals all your shit? Like, I don't know what's okay.
That's exactly right.
Which is worse?
Yeah, it's so much a matter of convenience these days, right? Like it's a matter of, like, for banking apps. Well, you used to get in your car and drive to the bank and stand in line and wait for a teller to like get any money out, and now you can do that from your phone. Or you can deposit, you can do all these things pretty automatically, and it's just a matter of convenience. We've gotten so used to having everything at our fingertips and the snap of a finger. And it's, you're right. It's just, I don't know, those extra little steps are worth it. Because if something goes wrong personally, professionally, within your business, otherwise, that you're super inconvenienced at that point when you're trying to claw that money back or get it out. And it's funny. I think about it sometimes, because for a while I was like, well, no one's going to steal my identity. They don't, like, I'm not that important. They don't need this. And to the company, it's not always the specific information that is valuable to the person hacking, but it's the value to the company itself. So if I'm stealing something that's of value to you, you're going to pay for it. It might not mean anything to me, but it's valuable to that company, that person. And so
it's the gateway to get to somebody else. It's you're the gateway. I always say this to people when they ask the why question of why, because I'm just little me. I'm sitting here in Wisconsin because I have some pretty big fish out there that I'm connected with. I'm the gateway to get to them.
Yeah.
You might be the small person in your group, if small person, whatever, in your group, but someone. Everyone knows someone that is here or here or here or here. You're connected to so many people. And even if you don't even know you're connected, especially if you're on LinkedIn or Facebook or any of those things. So everyone knows someone. And I always tell people that, and they're like, oh, I didn't think of it that way. And I'm like, nobody ever thinks of it that way. Like, are you online? Are you on Facebook? Do you have a Facebook account? How many followers do you have? Okay. How many followers do they have? How many followers do they have? And you just go down, like, it happens every day.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's so crazy.
And it's funny because I look at it, again, relative to personal and professional, I look at it very simply. Like when I open up my internet app to see how many devices are connected, I'm always like, oh my gosh, I have that many devices connected. It's a speaker, it's a computer, it's a phone, it's all of these things in
Yes.
your house is so online these days. The coffee
Yep.
maker, for crying out loud, right? Like the thermostat, all these things
Yeah.
are areas, and certainly within a business when you have employees spread out like we do remotely,
Yeah.
there's a lot of different things to consider. And so, yeah, it's a wild world out there. And for us, right, like it's in both of us, right? Like it's our clients leverage our expertise and our knowledge so they don't have to do it, right? Like I hire a
Yep.
mechanic because I can't fix my own car. So I hire a mechanic to do that. Likewise in business, right? Like come to a professional to help you navigate the solutions that you aren't an expert at.
Here's a funny story, and then I'm going to jump into transitioning into talking about the AI stuff that you were
Yeah.
asking about earlier. So this is a funny story. I was actually having this conversation with my hairstylist the other day, and I have it with her all the time. It's so funny. So I've been I run all of her operations and in marketing and stuff for her salon, and I've been doing this for, almost 8 years now. And so she obviously also does my hair, which is amazing, but I am the perfect client for a salon, right? Because I go in and I just like, don't ask me, just do like, what do you think work? Like, I can't do
Yeah.
I'm not coloring my own hair. I'm not like doing my own nails. I'm not doing any, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the mixtures you put together. Like, I don't know, like, you're the expert. I'm paying you. I mean, in salons, when you go to a top salon, they're ridiculous expensive. And it's one of those things where I'm paying you insane money. Just you tell me. Like, you can ask me like what I think and my opinion, and I expect you to look at me and go, "Don't do that. It will ruin your hair. Don't do that. It will look awful." I expect that. It's the same thing like with a mechanic and stuff like that. I hate the worst part about the mechanic scenario is that they always try to like slip things in that you don't need at the end, And so I've always been taught by the fantastic men in my life that get the shit done that you need to get done, and then get your keys and get out of there as fast as possible. Because you're a woman, they will try to sell you stuff. And I was like, that's just horrible. And they're like, that's just the way the auto body shop works. I'm like, well, that's not right. I need to fix this. And they're like, oh my God, just get out. Like, just get out of there as fast as you can. Stop talking to the people. Anyway, I just thought that was really funny because I feel like it coincides with exactly what you just said. Whether you're a business that is like a consulting business, or you're a business like yourself where you're selling services or other like partnering with softwares, or you're a coach, or you're like all of these things, you're hiring an expert to do their job. Just let them do their job
Yeah.
and actually listen to them. If you truly don't agree with what they're saying, then you probably shouldn't be working with them and you need to go find something else. And I
Yeah.
think it's really insane how many people spend gobs of money on like coaching and consultants and all of this stuff to not listen to them and do what they want anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, we don't have to go down that road because that's a rabbit hole we don't even want to open up. Let's jump
Well,
into the AI stuff
yeah.
though, because you were talking about AI, and I absolutely obviously love this topic. So I call it magic fairy dust. It's the magic fairy dust that you
Exactly.
sprinkle. Automation and AI are the magical fairy dust that you sprinkle on top of an already working process and strategy and system. And one of the things that I love about your content, because we're both kind of geeks on LinkedIn, right? Like we're always there because of course we don't have lives. We're not busy. So why don't we just hang out on LinkedIn all day?
Yeah.
One of the things that I love about your content, because it's similar to mine in the fact that, yeah, I'm the queen of automation. And I tell people all the time, there's such a thing as over automation. And
Yeah.
you can automate too much. And you shouldn't automate or put AI in place if you don't have a strategy. If you're just, buying software to buy software to automate whatever, it will break eventually because it's not going to do what you want it to do because there's no strategy behind what you just put in place.
Yeah.
Same thing with AI. AI is everywhere. It can do everything. It's going to walk your dog. It's going to feed your kids. I mean, like the robots are taking over. We got it. Check it off the list. All right. Either you're on board to figure out how to integrate it into your business and your life, or you're not. And it's one of those things where you still have to use a strategy because AI does I mean, there's a technology for everything.
Yeah.
Right? There's AI for everything now. Like there's 12 bazillion AI softwares out there that will get you more leads, be your sales bot, like send emails, like literally everything that you can think of inside your business. So when we were talking about this again before we hit record, I think what you said, and I'll just let you ask the question again,
Yeah.
because I want to make sure I capture it correctly. Ask the question that you were asking me
Yeah.
before we hit the record button about AI and automation.
Yeah, I was curious. Again, being the queen of automation as you are, I was curious if there was a point where it's too much automation. Where's that fine line where you
Yeah.
certainly want to leverage AI or the tools, however you want to phrase it, or whatever tools you're using, and there's a point where it's overcomplicated, or it's, to your point, like it's not following that strategy, and it's sort of taking a turn.
Yep.
That's where I'm curious. Like, with everything, right? Like, you can overcomplicate it, and I think that sometimes keeping it simple is better. Using the tools to refine it and make it more efficient or a better process. But there's a point where you're just like, okay, gosh, I have too many tools in my toolbox. It's overcomplicating it. And I'm just curious what your thoughts are on, like, where's that?
Absolutely. This is my favorite topic, and you know this. So one, and I won't jump into it because I don't need this to be a sales pitch. This is exactly why Digital Magic CRM exists, because for the longest time, and I'll predate myself. I think we're in a similar age group.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 20 years. And for the longest time, I was such an advocate of not using an all-in-one system, right? Because all-in-one systems are only going to do everything marginally well, and you want an expert in and I get that. And yes, while that's true, it's also a deficit to having then to use middleware to connect things, or Zapier or Make or whatever. And then you have, and so I think Zapier and Make, for one, have done a disservice to the automation world in the sense that for someone like myself or the people that I work with who know how to do it without those tools with an API and actually do it the right way, then it's fine. It's a no-code solution. I can whip stuff up really fast. But then it becomes this kind of DIY nightmare. I've had people come to me and they've got, 150 zaps stapling together, like 12 different pieces of software. Shit's broken all over the place. It's a house of cards ready to come tumbling down. One, because they don't have a strategy. Two, because Zapier makes it so easy just to connect stuff, right? And you connect things without having a strategy behind connecting things, right? So that is definitely an automation. Do not do that. Like that is the over automation, the over complication of things, right? And the other thing that happens is the cost of all of the different softwares, right? So when you have all these softwares and they all have different, it just becomes out of control and insane the amount of money you pay for this stuff. But for me, where I start with talking to people about where the over automation line happens is when human emotion is now completely gone from your brand. So automation is supposed to make your life easier. It is supposed to make your customers' lives easier. When you have put so much automation into place that customer and or person can never get to a human and have a human emotional connection with your brand, you have over automated the shit out of your systems, and it's going to hurt your brand.
Yeah.
And there should always be a mixture of automation and human connection. And I can't tell you what the percentage is because the percentage is different for everyone, right? Yeah. And it really is. But there are ways to put smart automations in place that will not dehumanize, which is the way that you should go. And you have to figure out where that fine line is between, okay, now this needs to be done by a human. And so instead of, even though, again, the queen of automation, even though that's what I'm called, we're also more focused on systems and processes. Yeah. And systems does not mean technologies, right? It could be a technology. It could be a human. It could be, it's the system of how everything is put together. And that's with AI and technology and humans, right? So when you think about automation and AI, you have to think about the system and you have to think about how it's all connected. And I have to figure out the best way to say this because actually I'll just tell a story. For example, I had someone come to me, and great person, and he had over 20 pieces of software running his business, and his operations cost yearly was insane, right? And what do you do with that? And then when things break, you have no idea. And so when you talk about overcomplicating things, it was like this mountain of overcomplication. And even though we stripped back everything and put him into one place, into one software, he still had, a couple others. So he went from having, 20 plus things happening, balls in the air all over the place, to 2, which is a huge learning curve. And I think that's the other reason people are so afraid to take the leap with AI and putting automations in place, is because could you imagine you spend all this time using 10, 12, 15, 20 pieces of software, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to be like, rip it all out. Here's 2. I'm going to do everything that you were already doing in 2. And so they're kind of afraid of that learning curve. I think there's a little bit of fear there as well with the learning curve of, but it's easier, I promise you.
Yeah.
And all the data, we were just talking about data, and all the data is so much easier to track. That's the other thing. The more touch points you add, you're talking about keeping it simple, right? We love the KISS method. We love it. Keep it simple, stupid, because the more touch points you add, the more data points you're adding to try and report on. So what people don't realize is that means software. The more software you add and the more stuff that you're adding, not only are you have to figure out how to get the data back and forth, like the contact data or the data from system to system, you have to figure out now how to pull all of the different systems data into one place, aggregate it all together, smush it into a dashboard, and report out on it.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I did this in corporate America for years, and it was the most awful experience. And then you end up buying another software system. Shout out to Domo, because Domo was amazing. They were my favorite corporate data tool, whatever. But it was a very expensive tool because they knew what they were sitting on, right? Like we just said, data currencies, data is where it's at. They're able to take, however many, pretty much any software that has an API that can push and pull data and dump it in and then aggregate it all and put it into these like fancy dashboards that, tell stories and like show you data stories. Let me just tell you what a hot mess that was. It looked really nice, like like if you, let's say you're the CEO and I'm bringing you this pretty dashboard and they're like, this is great, look at all, the 15 hours that it took me to get you that one like picture,
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is interesting. I mean, I think as again, like in our space, right? Like we play in the technology world, and certainly technology is helpful, but to your point, like too much technology, too much of something is too much of a good thing can be a bad thing, right? So I think what we see a lot is similar. Like we see a lot of companies, since we play in that world, way overspending on all of these tools and all of these systems and all of these platforms and all of these fancy dashboards.
Yep.
Because they think they need this stuff. And it's just like, well, gosh, you got redundant systems. You got this platform and you got this platform. They do the same thing. Why are we paying for both? And by the way, we're paying a crap ton of money for both of these things.
Exactly.
Let's consolidate. And I think because you lose control really fast, right? Especially in large organizations, especially with a remote workforce, there is a ton of tech sprawl. There's a lot of shadow IT. There's a lot of things that individuals are doing that the company doesn't really know about, right? Especially in the AI space. They're leveraging GPTs. They're leveraging a lot of different things, tools, and you lose control real fast. And so I think there's definitely a point where it is overcomplicated and the just too messy. And so simplifying and honestly, where we start is getting visibility, understanding what you're spending and where it's going and what that's the first part, because a lot of times you don't know, like that story you told, like he had 20 different systems or solutions in place. Did he actually know about them? And did he know what he was writing? Like there's so often we find clients that they just don't know. And when you kind of spotlight on it, they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, like that doesn't make sense. Let's go with this. But yeah, again, I'm a proponent of technology. It's great. There's efficiencies to be had all over the place. But there's a point where, gosh, it's just too much, or maybe I don't need that one thing. And again, it's not a one size fits all, right? So these folks, these big logos out here don't always fit for everybody. And so it's understanding what the right balance is. But I think luckily for your clients and hopefully for my clients, we're helping them navigate and find that right balance, because it can be tricky out there.
It's insane to me how many of the larger companies. So, I mean, because I worked for the largest lifestyle manufacturing company in the world. And that was my like entry into like the digital corporate world. And let me just tell you, it was insane. Like it's the silos, I think the biggest problem with these really large corporations like that are the silos. Every team has their own budget. which means they all want their own software. So there's marketing, there's sales, there's this, there's this, there's this. And then I come in and there's like digital and I'm supposed to merge, and it was like, what? And I'm like, well, stop doing this, this, and this. Why are we all using separate things?
Yeah.
Everybody should be using the same system, right? And I stirred the pot and it was crazy because marketing had their own tools for, external marketing things. Sales had something else. And then there was the web world, well, sort of, because it was very, because we weren't B2C, we were B2B.
Yeah.
And so we were working with like Walmart and Lowe's and Costco. And so like the web world was building things for those companies to put on their site, kind of like, it was interesting. And I just took a step back and I was like, what the heck is going on? And I was their first real digital hire. So I shook a lot of things up and we made a lot of really insane changes in the first 5 years that I was there. And I look back now going, if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't have the experience that I have today, right? And ripping apart all of that stuff and then putting it all back together with the IT team really made me understand, like, wow, these corporations are messed up. Like, they are broken, especially manufacturing. Like, manufacturing has some really broken synergy between their teams.
Yeah.
They allow each team to do its own thing, and then they look at their software costs. I'm like, well, who's leading the ship here? Like you said, where's the COO or CTO putting that in place and saying, whoa, like, how about we all use the one thing and it's all integrated and automated and working together?
Yeah.
Especially with sales and marketing, right? It's insane to me that so many companies use two different systems or platforms or setups for sales and marketing. And then the IT team has to come in, or the tech team has to come in and figure out how to connect the marketing leads. It's such a broken process. Like, how did the marketing leads feed into sales? And it's like this, which I know some of that stuff you don't touch, like the CRM and stuff like that, but
it should be
it is a hot mess. It is a hot mess trying to, and then you wonder why you walk into companies and they're still working off spreadsheets. That's why.
Yeah.
Because people aren't talking to each other. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
That's in small companies, it's a little bit easier because you're down the hall from Joe or Sue or whoever. You're just talking organically. At bigger companies, you're so separated a lot of times. Even if you're in an office at all, you're still separated.
Yeah.
And everybody is so siloed. I mean, gosh, sales and marketing. So I have a marketing background from years ago, and the intertwining of sales and marketing seems so obvious, but so many times they're like, no, we're doing this and we're responsible for that.
Yeah.
And to your point, like there's industries that are behind because this is the way we've done it and this is the way we're going to do it, and it's been successful. And they're working off of spreadsheets or they're working off of this, and you're like, okay, you've been successful. You could be way more successful if you did some of these things, right? And you got your own blinders on to the fact that this is just the way we've done it. Well, there's people that are doing it way better than you. It is interesting, and because there's certain industries that follow that trend more than others. Manufacturing is one of those that just it's old school, and it's a slow moving beast sometimes. But when you sort of shine a spotlight on where they could be or what they could be doing, it's like, oh, it's an epiphany moment.
I used to work with the CTO, who is still a really good friend of mine, and he was the CTO originally when I started at that company, and now and has since moved on. And I did a project for him, I don't know, a few years back now. It's been probably 3 years, and he brought me in to teach his developers about mobile experience design and how to enhance the mobile experience for this manufacturing company that he's now working for. And he is the funniest guy because he is like a homegrown ERP guy, right? Like, he's gonna build his own ERP with every company he goes to, and we're all like, man, it was just don't do that. Like, just buy one, and he still tries to get down into the weeds. And I mean, he's really good at what he does, and he knows what makes a good ERP and stuff like that. But it's funny because you just see everybody rolling their eyes. Like, that's like the other extreme. Like, there's we're just going to do it all the same way that we've always done it, and we're not going to spend any money. And then there's we'll just build it ourselves.
Yeah.
I don't think that is necessarily the way to go either. And it's so funny sitting across the table from people like that, because you're like, oh, good Lord, this conversation is not going to go anywhere.
Yeah. I
You're
mean,
like,
yeah,
why am I
there's
here?
it is interesting that buy versus build mentality of what,
Yeah.
and there's so many off the shelf solutions that can be modified in some ways, right? So if you're just starting from
Yes.
scratch, there, you don't need to. You
No,
could whatever it is, right? You could do things, buy some off the shelf and modify it. There's every
exactly.
industry, like we have clients in a variety of industry, right? They're all unique because they do different things, and we sort of find the right solution for them. And I think that's, if I'm building a birdhouse, I could probably do that myself. But if I'm building my own house, we're gonna, use somebody else.
Yeah, we're
And
going
I
to get a
think
contractor.
yeah, right. Like there's a limit to what I can do. And I think that buy versus build mentality is, especially some of those old school folks, they're gonna dig in, they're gonna do it themselves. They're gonna code, they're gonna do all of the things, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes a little bit of knowledge or a little bit of a step back for them to say, oh wait,
Yep.
this solution makes sense, and we can just add on top of this. Okay, great. Let's start from there instead of starting at the starting line. Let's start halfway through the race. It gets you there a lot quicker.
Exactly. So one of the things, yeah, I mean, because I I always tell people that I talk with that don't reinvent the wheel. I mean,
Yeah,
we hear this all the time, right? Like there's no reason to. So again, not this is not supposed to be a sales pitch. DMC, the reason that we went this route is because the core base CRM and the functionality is all there. And it has such an amazing API that if you have a developer that you work with, you can build anything you want on top of this stack. And it will do anything you want, but the core is there. Because what people don't realize is when they're trying to, and that's kind of what the Zapier people are doing, right? Like they're trying to build their own system by connecting a whole bunch of things. That's not necessarily going to work either, right? Like there's so
yeah,
many different extremes that people go to, but what people don't realize is that we'll get really geeky here for a second. What people don't realize is that there's a ton. This is not just, all right, you throw some code together and now you've got a system. Okay. Does anybody remember the green screen of death? Like the 1990 software, like on your old Apple IIc. Oh God, I'm old. The old Apple IIc is where you've got like that green, like black screen with the green, I mean, that's what it looks like when you just code something
yeah,
and throw it up and start
yeah,
using it. Okay. There's no UI attached to it. So not only do you have to code it, then you have to put an interface, like the lipstick on a pig, the user
yeah,
interface that somebody sees and interacts with. And then you have to think about the user experience. If you now there's a lot of developers that are a lot better now, right? That care about the user experience, but there's still a lot of developers that those are the developers. They're there to develop code and put shit together. They're not focused on the user experience or customer experience because that's not their lane, right? They're staying in their lane. And so they're building it, and then there's nobody over here with the user experience
yeah,
focusing on the user. That's why there's so many bad softwares out there, because the user experience team doesn't exist or doesn't know what they're doing, or they're not talking to the developers.
yeah,
So you've got developers building over here and you've got user experience people over here, and they're not talking. And here you go, here's this really cool fancy new software that we just built. Isn't it awesome? No, it sucks. I
yeah,
can't even use it.
yeah,
It's like, did you even talk? Did you even get in a room? And that happens still to this day all the time, and it's becoming even easier for this to happen because of AI and ChatGPT, and it's writing code for you. All of that's great. In fact, I've used it to check code for me before, right? Like it is great. It will spit out a bunch of stuff. You can build your own app. You can do all of this stuff. But I'm telling you, this goes back to the top of the hour when Sean said it. If you don't have a strategy, it's not going to work right.
yeah,
There has to be human emotion involved. You have to build for your 82-year-old grandmother. Is this thing has to be able, you have to be able to hand this off to somebody who's never seen what you're trying to do. And they pick it up and they go, oh, perfect. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
And it's,
yeah. Well, there's
all
got
of
to be,
this stuff still happens with all this technology and all the stuff that we had out there and all the user knowledge. This shit's still happening on a daily basis, and we
yeah.
see it.
Well, there's got to be, I think, there's got to be communication, whether it's from, human to automation tool or human
Yeah.
to human to make sure that there's, synergies or collaboration there.
Yes.
There's got to be some communication back and forth or guardrails or whatever you want to call it, right? There's got to be an interaction that takes place to ensure that you're not just throwing something that's useless out there.
Yeah.
Because we see that all the time, right? Like this new startup company has this really cool widget, and then they launch it and they're like, it falls flat, and you're like, well, why did it fall flat? It's so cool. But because the user interface or the how customers accept that is like, it doesn't make sense. They're just not useful. Or and so a lot of those things just fall through the cracks of just like, all right, well, especially in technology, like there's a lot of tools out there, but do you need them all? No, you don't. There's some cool stuff, but it's interesting. I think there's got to be a strategy. There's got to be a what's the use case. There's got to be a whatever you want to call it. Right? There's got to be a reason behind what you're doing, and that it's doing what it's supposed to do. Otherwise, you're just creating something that's not going to be used. So it's tough, but we see it all the time.
Yes. And I think on that note, that is a wrap because I've taken up so much of your time.
No,
But this has been a really good conversation, and we should definitely do this again because I think the cybersecurity thing and really protecting your data and understanding why it's important to protect your data, because you know what? The Zapiers and the makes aren't going away. And making sure that you have the right authentication and all of that stuff set up so that you're in place. I want you to tell people where they can find you, because what I think is going to happen, and I'm really hoping it's going to happen, is that people who are listening and watching know that I feel like you're a good resource too for setting up like a cybersecurity policy. And maybe you can't help everyone, but at least you might be able to direct them in their, to someone who could, because I'm not kidding. Like it is, you can buy them offline and stuff like that. But if you want information on what Sean and his team does and how they help put those types of policies in place with the bigger companies, you can find them on LinkedIn. Go ahead and pitch your email and your website and stuff like that. And we'll put it down in the show notes too. But definitely reach out to Sean and check his content out. And
Megan, I appreciate it. Look, here's the deal. I mean, you like you said, you can reach me on LinkedIn. You can reach me. I'll give you my email is snihill, Nihill @resourceive.com. You can find our company at resourceive.com. I think what, for me, it's more about, we could probably help a lot of folks do a lot of things. I think for me, it starts with a conversation to figure out what you're trying to do. And like, if I can help you, I'll help you. If I can't help you, I'll point you in the right direction, because that's sort of how we are as humans. I want to help people out. I don't want to just, this isn't a transactional thing for me. This is a relationship for me. This is a partnership, right? So like, I'm very much more in it to help you solve a problem. And if it's something that I can help with directly, great. If it's something I could point you to, fantastic. Let's just get your problem solved. So I think that's our approach, and my approach in general is, let's not start selling you a solution, because that's not what we do. Let's figure out a strategy, and let's for a problem that needs to be solved, let's find the right solution. It's not just selling you a transactional tech. Resourceive.com is where we're at. I can send you my email. We could link it in here, however it makes most sense. But LinkedIn, happy to shoot me a DM, reach out. I'm always around.
Awesome. Well, thank you for this. It's been really
I will
fun.
tell you, Megan, you're in Madison. I'm in Milwaukee. At some point, there's going to be a live podcast at some beer garden this summer.
Yes,
that will be way more fun.
Absolutely do. and show the world that tech people can have fun too. We don't just sit behind a computer all day.
Tech people, IT out for some.
That sounds like a great episode. We'll make it happen for sure. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can find Sean's details in the show notes. And thank you, Sean, for showing up and talking about all the geeky fun side of the IT world with us. And remember, everybody, technology is only good when it works, and we will see you next week.
Thanks,
Bye.
Megan.